Good evening. Today is February the 16th, 2026. Halfway through the month of February, 1.5 months into the new year of 2026. I have an amazing show tonight, but also want to talk about the next 5 weeks. The next 5 weeks, March 1st starts National Reading Month. So too does March 1st kick off Women's History Month. And I'll be talking with Kate Milligan of One Girl Revolution for an event they have coming up on March 1st in Detroit, Michigan. But next week, I will have as my guest Pam Good of Beyond Basics, a literacy organization right here in Detroit, nonprofit. Also, Kareem Weaver. Kareem Weaver was a prominent figure in the documentary, The Right to Read. And if you have not seen that documentary yet, please check it out. And a very amazing documentary is that needs to be seen. Also, my guest next week will be Chuck Stokes, a WXYZ ABC affiliate here in Detroit. ABC Channel 7 is a very prominent figure in the community, journalism community, and they are very active and involved with the literacy movement. That is a crisis that needs to be talked about. So all 5 weeks of my shows in the month of March, beginning March 2nd on to March 19th, March 16th, March 23rd, and March 30th will be dedicated specifically to literacy and the literacy crisis. I want to welcome Mr. 1213 to the show. Derrick Henry was on for a minute. He still is on. I haven't hit. So Derrick Henry, also Les, want to welcome you to the show. My good friend for probably about 20 years now, Pastor Nicole Blackman. I did a show with her husband a few weeks back at a very amazing show. Actually, it was on ML King Day specifically. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you this evening Kate Milligan. Kate Milligan is the founder, if I'm not mistaken, of One Girl Revolution. And March 1st, as I stated, kicks off Women's History Month. And they have a big event on the 1st of March, next Sunday, this upcoming Sunday. Also, with regards to that, Nicole corrected me, Pastor. I guess pastors be on their business. It's been 26 years we've known each other. Thank you for that, Nicole. And, time flies. So also with regards to March 1st, the youth group that the nonprofit I work for, we will be having some of our students there next week. And I'm going to thank you for that, Kate, for inviting our students to participate and pay tribute to important women in their lives. And I'm not sure exactly what all they will be doing next week. Elijah Richardson, the executive director and founder of MUA, which is Michigan Urban Youth Alliance, he might be joining us this evening. He could give more insight. But I do want to give a shout out to Mackenzie Chapman, Kyla Kellum, as well as Jay Howard and Bree Kelly. Bree Kelly is the president of MUA, the youth advisory group, and they will be for the young women that will be participating next week. Many, if not all of the students will be there as well, but they have a significant role that they will be playing next week with regards to doing some vision boards or something that matter. You might know more than me, but whatever role they will be playing next week, And again, I want to thank all those that have joined us thus far. Pastor Nicole Hunt, Mr. 1213 and Derrick Henry. Many of these individuals I've just called off are regular viewers to my show, as well as all of the shows on Detroit in Black and White. G Money Hollywood has also joined the broadcast. So without further ado, I won't steal your thunder, Kate. You can introduce yourself to the audience. We could talk about the event next week and what was the motivation for you to create this amazing event that I'm looking forward to being a part of next week.
Yeah, so many things. First of all, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to be here and I love your show and was loving going through before hopping on tonight, going through some of the past shows that you've done. And I know doing a podcast or doing any kind of show, a lot of times people can't just join every single time. And so I always encourage people, I'm like, go back and listen to past episodes and hear from different people because we're really capturing history in a lot of ways through shows like this. So thank you for everything that you're doing and thank you for having me on. I'm so excited for March 1st. So March 1st, like you said, from 6 to 9 p.m. It's a Sunday night, but what a great way to kick off Women's History Month. We're going to be hosting One Girl Revolution's The Power of Her, and it's going to be a multimedia experience where people will learn about so many incredible women who are making history, women and girls who are making history today. So I love Women's History Month because I love any opportunity to look back throughout history and say Rosa Parks or Marie Curie, or these are all the women who have impacted the world. But my favorite thing is to look around our own communities or our own lives. And that's what I loved so much about being at the Michigan Urban Youth Alliance the other night is I loved what their connection to Women's History Month was through their moms. All of them were talking about their mothers and like they wanted to do something to honor their moms. And so that got me thinking about Women's History Month in a new way. But it's going to be an incredible event. I hope that everybody will join us. We are really trying to make it as accessible as possible for everybody. So tickets are only $25. That includes drinks and charcuterie and food and a mocktail bar and a cocktail bar. So it's just going to be a great program. So it's going to be a great night celebrating women.
I think you sold a lot of people at the drinks part.
I know.
I'm not a drinker, but for those that are, definitely
for all of that. And Two James Distillery, if people are familiar in Detroit, they're amazing. They pulled together all these like really cool cocktails, and then Little Saints is going to do a mocktail bar, and yeah, it's going to be a great night.
And you yourself have a podcast. Tell the audience a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah, so One Girl Revolution, it started as a podcast because I worked in PR and media, and I was frustrated by the fact that women's voices and their stories weren't being told by the media. And so in October of 2018, I started a podcast, not knowing how to do a podcast, but I figured it out. And now we're at 289 episodes. So it's incredible how I've grown. But I thought if I could just do 10 episodes, maybe that'll make some sort of impact. And 10 turned to 20 and 20 turned to 30. And now we're at 289 and kicking the podcast back off in March. But it's called the One Girl Revolution podcast, and we highlight stories of women and girls across the country. So we focus on American women because a lot of times I feel like we hear about people in other countries or people who are doing amazing things, but I really wanted to make it like normalize doing good in your own communities. And so I started looking online and found some stories that I thought were inspiring. And again, it was like 10 turned to 20. And now I just feel like every single day I'm hearing about new stories or inspiring women or little girls. Like my favorite stories are the women and girls who maybe didn't start a nonprofit, but they're just doing something in their community. They saw a need and they were like, oh, I'm going to make cards for elderly people at senior living facilities, or I know how to make lasagna, so I'm going to make lasagna and post on Facebook and say, if anybody needs a meal tonight for their family, I have X number of lasagnas. All these different stories, and it makes it normal for all of us. Like we all can make a difference. We all can make an impact. And I do think that that is lost so often in the world today. And especially thinking about kids and young people, right? That they have lost sight of their purpose and their power to change the world. And also all of us as adults, right? You get busy with life, you're doing your 9-to-5 job, or you're just literally getting by every single day. And the reality is we're as unique as our fingerprint, and the impact that we can leave, or the imprint that we can leave on the world, is that unique. And so I really want, through the podcast, we have 2 documentaries. So through the documentaries and through events like The Power of Her, I hope that it reminds every single person, not just women and girls, that they have a purpose and that they have the power to change the world.
And how often, and thank you, Mr. 1213, today is the 23rd, not the 16th. I was going back in time, so I appreciate that correction. How often does your podcast air?
It comes out every week. So we're on a little bit of a pause right now just because I had so much going on with the event. But the podcast comes back next week, and we will be a weekly podcast again. So it's really exciting.
And what motivated you to create the organization One Girl Revolution? What was the mindset behind that?
Yeah, so I worked in PR. I've worked in PR and media. I still have my day job. and run One Girl Revolution as a nonprofit organization and all the different media things that are going on. And I'm looking at questions as they're coming through. I'll answer those questions, but I started noticing that the media wasn't highlighting positive stories or the stories of women and girls that were making some sort of social impact. It always was politicizing their stories or divisive, right? The media can be so divisive, and it's like this us versus them mentality. And I was living in DC at the time. I lived in DC for almost 7 years. And then in 2018, I moved back to Detroit. I was frustrated by the political machine. I was frustrated by everything that was going on in the media. And I actually was reading a book about the city of Detroit, and I came across the two phrases on Detroit's flag, which there is always hope and it will rise from the ashes. And at that moment, Eric, I was like, that's women. Like, women are so resilient. They're so powerful. They can change the world. And so that little idea sparked out of frustration, started as a podcast. And now over the past 7 years, it's grown and evolved into a full throttle nonprofit multimedia organization where we're able to highlight women and girls' stories in so many different ways. So, yeah, I always say to people, like, just do it. If I had waited, Eric, like, I got advice from people when I first was talking about One Girl Revolution. People were like, oh, get all your ducks in a row, raise all this money, then do the thing. And the greatest thing that I did was just sort of stumble into doing podcasts and then sort of let the organization and let the platform really grow authentically and organically through these women and through their stories.
You bring up a good point, because at the end of the day, you just have to do it. I mean, still in the Nike slogan. And I'm going to ask the viewers, this is a very important conversation, to like, subscribe, and share the podcast for this evening, because I would like for as many people to hear the conversation. And then particularly with regards to a question like Les. Les is a regular viewer. He also has his own podcast that he airs a few days a week, if I'm not mistaken. I know Saturday is one of them. So with regards to his question, Kate, does your organization fight the abuse of women in Haiti and Africa?
So we do that through highlighting the stories and highlighting the organizations that do. So one organization that comes to mind, which is one that's very near and dear to my heart, it's called SASSGO. So SASSGO. And they train women and girls all around the world self-defense. And so I know that they have programs that are all over Africa, and they're training women, sometimes even via Zoom, training them how to protect themselves in all different situations. I've gone to they do a I Will Survive weekend every year in South Carolina. And so I've gone the past 2 years, and it's so empowering for women and girls to know how to, first of all, walk with confidence, right? When you're walking to your car at night in a garage, or if you're dealing with whatever situation you are where you might be a little uncertain, they're really creating the spaces and creating the tools and support for women and girls all around the world to know how to protect themselves, to know how to ask for help, to know how to yell for help. And then what are the tools that they can do to protect themselves? So we're really elevating organizations like SASSGO, because there's no reason to recreate the wheel, right? Like, I don't need to start another nonprofit that's doing something effectively as SASSGO is, but what I can do is give them a microphone, or give them as much support as I can by highlighting their stories, highlighting their programming. We actually did a whole podcast series about the different facets of their work and how it impacts women and girls across the country, but also around the world. So people can go back and listen to that, because it's just really informative and really inspiring.
And I appreciate that question, Les, because we like to engage the audience without a doubt, let them be a part of the conversation, because they are, our guests, and I would not be able to do this without the assistance of them tuning in, taking time out of their schedule, particularly on a Monday. And it's the first day back of the work week. People get tired after going back to work, and to be on at 8:30 in the evening, taking time out of their schedule to find my podcast important enough to check out. I appreciate all that are viewing right now. Les has another comment or a question. Okay, a question. Do you support and understand young women who are voluntary sex workers?
It would be a similar answer. There are organizations that work directly with women, and a lot of the women and girls who are going through that have been trafficked. And so it's really important to make sure that they're getting the resources and that they have the support that they need. One of the organizations is Treasures, which is out in California. It was started by this amazing woman, Harmony Just Grillo. And she is doing amazing work, just really forming friendships with women and helping them know that there are other ways and that there are other opportunities for them, and really building a sisterhood. And so, yeah, similar answer is like we're finding the stories of women who are supporting all types of women and people of all different backgrounds and all different struggles, and finding ways to uplift their stories and their organizations.
And the next comment, is a very good perspective. Women are most certainly resilient. And that speaks to the event next week, speaks to the name of your organization, and speaks to your podcast. Anything you would like to add with regards to that comment?
Yeah, that's the heart of One Girl Revolution. I am so inspired, and I don't know how anybody could not be inspired by the resilience of women and girls, right? So many of the stories are women and girls who have gone through hell and back, and then they stepped forward and stood up stronger, and then now they're able to help other people. I love those stories of resilience, and I think that we need to create more spaces for people to see that, because it also helps us all, not just women and girls, but it helps every single person not feel so alone, because we all have our struggles, we all have our difficulties, we all have the things that we have to go through in this life. Life is a journey. And so as much as we can do to really highlight those stories to help other people see their own strength, their own resilience, I think that's really how we change the world.
And before getting to the next question, and it's from G Money Hollywood, what exactly does Women History Month mean to you? And why is it so important?
It's so important to me for a lot of reasons, and it always ends up being the busiest time of the year for One Girl Revolution, probably because it's Women's History Month, and there's so many dates that are throughout the month as well. You have International Women's Day and other dates, and then other events too that are going on. But to me, I love looking back at history and seeing the women and girls who have made an impact. And I remember even being a little kid and being in school and learning about different women throughout history who have done incredible things. But to me personally, I want to hear about the women today who are making an impact, or our ancestors, right? And even I include in that my mom, who passed away a couple of years ago. Like, she's now in my line of ancestors, and she was a One Girl Revolution. I learned everything that I know, all my strength, my resiliency, from her. And so we really need to encourage people to look around at their own lives and say, these are the women who have built me or who have impacted my life in a positive way, and celebrate those women too. We don't do that enough, right? The women and girls who are in our own lives. And that's, again, what I loved so much about the Michigan Youth Alliance kids. Like, they were just so amazing. Urban Youth Alliance kids, like, they were amazing just talking about their moms. And I'm like, this is so profound to me, because like, I don't know that I would have, way back in the day when I was a kid thinking about Women's History Month, connected the dots to my mom. Although I love my mom, I always loved my mom. I don't know that that's where it just was so genuine and so inspiring to me. So,
all right. Sorry to hear about your mom as well.
Thank
you. G Money Hollywood has a question. What do you think of Caitlin Clark reshaping the WNBA? That's part one of the question.
Yeah.
Also, do you think more women will be given a chance to run Fortune 500 companies by 2030? If so, what percentage do you feel they will be able to do that?
Yeah, I love Caitlin Clark, and I love everything that she's doing and driving people to WNBA. There's so much going on, and I just love her as a person. I think that's another important thing, is that we see real life, everyday people. Like, I just think she, from what I know, she's very humble and has worked really hard to get where she is. And so I love that we have examples like Caitlin Clark, and I hope that we see more of that. And then with regards to the question about Fortune 500 companies, I mean, I hope so. I think that so many women are coming up with incredible ideas, and I love watching Shark Tank. And even I was watching Shark Tank recently about this girl, Megan, who founded Little Saints, which is going to be the mocktail company doing the mocktails at our event. And this she's from Detroit. She founded Little Saints in Detroit. She now lives in Florida, but she's a company that's just growing and evolving, and she's so savvy and so smart. And so I look around and I see so many women with ideas who are hustling and working so hard that I believe that we're going to see a lot more women who are going to be running Fortune 500 companies. I don't know what percentage, but I hope that we will see a lot more.
And good evening to Tamika Rainey. Thanks for joining this evening. And before we, go on, there are some more comments. The event on Sunday, I think there will be an awards presentation as well. How did you go about selecting individuals to become recipients of the awards? And you told me previously, some know that they will be awarded, some it will be a surprise to them. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure based on the mantra of One Girl Revolution is how the individuals were picked. But what is the purpose of coming up with women to honor, and how do you go about selecting them?
Yeah, so there are going to be a lot of surprises, Eric. Well, a few surprises, I'll say. There's only so much we can fit into one evening. But last year when we did The Power of Her, so last year was the first year, and we just kind of did it. I just kind of like figured it out as we went. We did a live podcast episode with over 25 women who had been featured on the podcast before. Most of them were nonprofit founders. All of them were making social impact in some way. And so this year we will have that again. So we will have an opportunity for a lot of these women to be able to share their voices, their stories, a brief bit about what their business is or what their organization is, just because that's so important too for all of us to be connected. And I say a lot where we all have time, talent, and treasure throughout our lives. Sometimes you don't have a dollar to your name, right? You don't have a dollar you can donate to somebody, but you do have time. Can you donate an hour of your time to go and help somebody, or even do something kind for your neighbor? Take 5 minutes and pull their trash bins back in. We all can do something. Or if you have a talent, and I know Bree and I were talking about this the other night, like she's a photographer and she loves photography. And so I was like, use your talent, and you never know where that will get you too. Like donating your talent can be so powerful and so important. And so there are going to be a lot of different ways that we honor women's voices, we honor women's stories, we honor women who have gone before us, so some women that are no longer with us. But then also I wanted to support some of the people that have I've seen be like these sparks of light for One Girl Revolution's community. And so all of the people, I don't know if any of them know that they're getting awards. So that's going to be the fun thing.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's so they were nominated, or you all selected them?
I selected them. So
okay.
Yeah. So so they're gonna get a little surprise.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, nothing like a very worthy surprise. And sorry about that, Leslie. I thought you were the same Leslie that had the podcast. So thanks for the correction. And Elijah is trying to get on, but there's a lot of background noise wherever he's at. Elijah. Let me text him and tell him there's a lot of background noise where he's at. Yeah, a lot of background noise. Wherever he at, we might need to be where he is.
Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be a great night, Eric. And I love any opportunity to celebrate people. And I think I told you via text that one of the individuals that's going to get an award is a man. So that'll be a fun thing, because we also want to celebrate the women and girls who are doing amazing things, but also so many men who are just being supportive of their sisters. And even that's what I'm excited about on Sunday. I say that it's for everybody. It's not just for women and girls. Everybody is welcome. Eric, I know you're coming. Elijah's coming. But it's such a great opportunity for us to celebrate our community leaders and just people who are making a difference and find ways to connect and collaborate.
And one of the things, you brought up a great point, because honoring someone and receiving an award from your peers is one of the most amazing aspects of just carrying on your life as a human being, to be recognized for your work. I mean, I'll be receiving an award the day before in an event, and in speaking to the executive director of the organization, he said there were many nominations on behalf of me. So just to know that people have a presence about you and pay attention to what you're doing. I mean, it's humbling, because you can't help but be humble, because we all do this work out of the kindness of our heart, because we want to make a difference. We don't do it for the awards. We don't do it for the recognition. We don't do it for the accolades. But when you're honored by your peers, it just has a totally different feeling, because it just goes to show that your work goes noticed, and you're not doing it tearing your nails apart, pulling your hair out. You're doing it because it's a needed cause. So again, I have the utmost humbleness for those that nominate me, and then to even be receiving an award that only so many people will be receiving in a city of over 600,000 people. I mean, it's very humbling, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So G Money Hollywood. Oh, go ahead. Sorry about that, Kate.
I was going to say it's hard to celebrate, or it's hard to award every single person, right? But I think that it's so important for us to find opportunities, like you're saying, for us to highlight and support and honor the people that don't often get looked at, because they're just like keeping their head down, they're powering through, they're just doing what's right, they're doing what they think is right. And those are my favorite people to find ways to just give a shout out to, because they're not looking for the spotlight, they're just looking to be the change they want to see.
Right. It's just about, getting your hands dirty and doing the work that no one else is willing to do. Elijah, are you there? He might be on mute, but he's there
trying
without all the noise this time. So G Money Hollywood went on to further ask, do you think you will make the Fortune 500 list by 2030?
Ooh, my parents, when I was little, when I was 4 years old, my parents would always joke that I was either going to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company or the dictator of a small nation. Obviously, because I was very passionate and I had a lot of opinions. So I don't know. I don't know that that's a goal of mine. I just want to make an impact and make a difference. And I am through One Girl Revolution. So even if it just always is this nonprofit, I'll always do it. It's so important to me.
And you mentioned you lived in D.C. Where are you originally from?
I'm from Brighton originally. So
you're from here? Okay.
Yeah.
And what took you out to D.C.?
Pardon?
What took you out to D.C.?
PR. That's when I wanted to be a political commentator. Interestingly enough, I don't want to do anything with regards to politics anymore, but I wanted to be a political commentator. So that's how I got into PR and media. And the greatest thing is I had that is my background. So now that really learning how to communicate and learning how to be curious and ask questions. I mean, all the things that you're doing, Eric, it's like, I'm so glad that I learned that, even though I didn't end up being in politics. Now I'm able to really use my gifts and talents for the greater good through One Girl Revolution.
Okay. And also I want to give a shout out to Otis Bellinger. He is the, organizer, executive director, founder of Building Better Men, and the organization that is honoring Detroit area residents, because I'm not a Detroit resident, but Detroit area residents that are making a difference in Detroit. So that'd be taking place at the Northwest Activity Center over on the west side of Detroit. So I want to give a shout out to him. He's also a fraternity brother of mine for doing this. I think this is his second or third year. So to be a part of an organization that's recognizing people not in the infancy of their organization, because they've been around for a while, but the infancy of this award presentation, again, is very humbling. So Mr. 1213 is asking, does your organization tackle women homelessness?
Yeah, we do, again, like through uplifting other organizations that are doing the work. We did partner, which I know, Eric, that's where you and I met. We partnered with a film called Poverty Inc. And One Girl Revolution, we created a guide for like what are 5 ways that we all can make a difference to help those living in poverty and help those who are experiencing homelessness. So we do it through advocacy, and we do it through elevating different resources and different organizations. And we partner with so many different organizations. I mean, the one that comes to mind is Rebel Nell. They're a social enterprise, and they hire women who are experiencing homelessness and teach them how to make jewelry out of fallen graffiti art. So they'll actually be one of the vendors. at the Power of Her on Sunday. So I'm excited to have them. But they train women how to make jewelry and then create a support system around them, train them in business, and help them get into apartments and build their own businesses, which is amazing. So Rebel Nell is one that comes to mind, but we're really trying to amplify all those organizations.
And how many vendors will be there? Well, better question. What are some of the vendors that will be there on? You mentioned a few, but what are some of the vendors that will be there on Sunday?
Yeah, so we have, they're all social enterprises or organizations that have been a part of One Girl Revolution and have been highlighted on the podcast. So we have Rebel Nell, we have Mama Shu of Avalon Village is going to have her goddess market there.
Oh, she's going to be okay.
Suck It Suicide is another organization that's going to be there, and they always have like cool t-shirts and stuff. One Girl Revolution, of course, is going to have a table there, and we'll be able to sell all of our things. Mend on the Move, Ring True Co., which is an organization that hires survivors of human trafficking, and they make beautiful jewelry. So a whole lot of different organizations, but it really is a marketplace for good. And we're also going to have Verily Magazine is sponsoring the marketplace. So they're going to be there as well, which we're really excited to partner with them on this because they're an amazing women-owned magazine that is promoting a holistic look at women and art and magazines. So instead of the photoshopped women, you're getting real women, real stories. And so we're excited to have Verily a part of it too.
And the attire, I mean, casual dress, I mean, business attire, I
always say, Eric, that I want people to come as authentically themselves. And so if you want to dress up, you do it. If you just want to wear, and that's what we saw last year, everybody came and did their own thing. And it was just really beautiful. But the Detroit Design District is a really cool building. It's kind of like an old industrial kind of building that they turned into this art hub. So come as you are. Wear whatever you want, just come and celebrate. And, obviously, be comfortable because you're going to be walking around and looking at the documentaries and reading different women's stories and getting your cocktail or your mocktail and then going through the marketplace. And Michigan Urban Youth Alliance will have a table there too. So I'm excited about that. So yeah, just come and be present and wear whatever you want.
And you mentioned when we first met, which was at the Poverty Inc. Documentary premiere in Detroit. Mm-hmm. And what was interesting about that, I was not surprised about the profitability of poverty. Mm-hmm. I'll talk about that all the time. If I'm doing my show, if I'm a guest on the regular Detroit in black and white broadcast, because I say all the time, certain social ills are profitable. Mm-hmm. And that's the unfortunate thing about the society that we live in. I say the society, I'm not just talking about America. I'm talking about the world, because the version that we saw was the international version of Poverty Inc. And there was a few scenes where some of the individuals that think they're helping people were very pompous about the money that they're making off poor people. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wow. So I'm looking so forward to the American version because, as we both saw in the premiere, the American version prominently features Detroit as one of the cities that will be a part of the that version of Poverty Inc. But no one should be surprised at all about how these social ills, education, poverty, unemployment, crime, are all profitable businesses. Mm-hmm. And that's a sad reality of the society that we live in, and that has to change. And I think that the more people see documentaries like Poverty Inc., documentaries like The Right to Read, and I'll have someone that's very prominent in that documentary on next Monday. But we have to wake up as a people, because we can whine and complain about politics all we want. Mm-hmm. We need to focus on the things that we have control over, that we can fix. Yes. You're not going to change politics. You're not going to change people's ideologies. You're not going to change people's loyalties, be it blind loyalty or not. But what you can change are the social and community ills, particularly that permeates right around you. Homelessness, that's a profitable business. So yeah, I'm so looking forward to the American version that will be coming out, I think, in April. I think is what Michael said, from back in, what was that, November when we saw that? Yeah, November. So we have another question from Mean Well, Mia in the D. And she's asking, and I'm not sure what DV means.
Domestic violence, I think.
Oh, it is it. Yeah.
Would your organization be willing to trump domestic violence registry?
Tennessee had just enacted one earlier this year. That's a very interesting question.
Yeah, I hope so. And we've highlighted stories of actually one of the stories that we had on the podcast was about a child abuse registry here in Michigan, and Erica Hamill McLaughlin now, her son Wyatt was shaken, and so she actually championed Wyatt's law, and it was brought into law here in the state of Michigan. And so yeah, I would love to be a part of anything that we can do to protect women, and if that's getting a domestic violence registry or anything like that to protect women and girls, I would love to be a part of that.
I'm trying to text Elijah back to let him know I see that he signed on, but couldn't hear him. And then Les Moore does the walk back of DEI impact white women too? Oh, interesting question.
Interesting question. I mean, I could make the argument that I mean, DEI is just a piece to the puzzle, and there are so many different problems in society, and so we need to have more conversations and create more opportunities for people's stories and their voices to be heard. So yes and no, I guess.
Yeah, very interesting question though. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Pastor Hunt. And Miss Sheila 2129, another regular listener to Detroit in Black and White. You're right. Homelessness is big money. It's just sad and unfortunate. Well, first of all, sad and unfortunate that we have a homeless problem, number one. Number two, it's even worse that a lot of these individuals that went to protect and fight for this country come back and end up homeless. That is a very, very sad testament. So it's one of those problems that you see as an easy fix. I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine that's a lawyer earlier today, and I was telling her one of the things that needs to be done. I had a conversation earlier today with Miss Pam Good, one of my guests for next week. You have a lot of students that are homeless. I have no idea why no one has not figured out yet how to repurpose some of these abandoned schools and make them shelters. Because one of the most difficult things about being enrolled in school, you have to have an address. You have to have an address, and that could prevent you from being able to register in school. You don't have an address that they can relate it to. I know a lot of school districts have open enrollment now, but you have to have an address in order. And all this couch surfing, that's the phrase that they use for a lot of students that are homeless, but staying in different residences on someone's couch or on the floor. And that's not how the so-called greatest nation in the world should have its citizens living, particularly the most vulnerable, which are kids and young adults. So we have to do something about that. So Ms. Sheila, you hit the nail on the head. Homelessness is a big money, profitable business, and that is one of the most unfortunate things to even be saying as an American. Thanks, Les, about the analysis. So you have another question comment from Miss Sheila. I'm not sure if you can see it yet, but she says protecting women against slumlords that prey on women. Oh wow, another interesting. Another interesting perspective. Wow.
Yeah, there are so many different situations in life where women are being targeted, and we need to find opportunities to empower women and for them not to end up in those situations in the first place. But they need to be educated, and they need to know what to look for, and they need to know how to ask the right questions and really build their own support system. But also we need to teach them how to take care of themselves and how to protect themselves from anyone who would prey on them, for sure. And that's why I was sing this praises of SASCO all day long. Their program is so incredible, and the work that they're doing to empower women and educate women and really support them with resources and all different things. It's so important.
So is that organization local or are they national?
They're international. They're based in
International.
South
Okay.
Carolina. Yeah, they're based in South Carolina, but they're just an incredible organization, and they work with people all across the country and then all around the world too. So anywhere that people want them to go, and they're amazing too, Eric. They teach classes to adult women, but they also do classes for children as well, so little girls, and it's called Sassafras. And so they train them like how to look for, like when you're getting in and out of the car, like what do you look for? And it's very age appropriate. Or if you're in the toy store and somebody comes up to you and says, do you want to come and see my puppy, you know, or whatever. Like they teach these little girls how to be strong and how to know like when their red siren light goes on, because that's a big part of it too. Like if we're paying attention, and unfortunately in the world that we live in, we're all like on our phones all the time, right? So how can you be aware of what's happening? And that is a big problem when it comes to women and girls. We need to be trained, and we need to train ourselves how to be aware of different situations. And what would I do if? I know my mom, she was born and raised in Detroit, and so she would train us even as little kids. It was like, okay, when we're getting out of the car, look both ways and see if there's anybody, you know,
Right.
hanging around. And like, we just need to teach without scaring kids. You need to train people. You need to train them in situational awareness. And that goes for all of us too, right? We all can do a better job of paying attention to what's going on around us instead of being on our phones.
And Queen Bee is also a regular viewer. She's very involved in the Detroit community, and she states that poverty is big business, and the poverty pimps continue to convince the government to throw more money at it without question and with little oversight. And that is the problem with a lot of these social ills. There is a very, very little amount of oversight, mental health, literacy. And the sad part about literacy, you've had presidents with national initiatives as it relates to education. But why is education still a problem in this country, the so-called greatest country in the world? And it makes no sense. But again, I have 5 weeks in March to talk about that, and it should be some very interesting conversations. But yeah, it makes no sense at all. And then you have another comment from Mia in the D. Yes, it is constructed. Look at the direct correlation of the east side of Detroit not getting any investment, seen as the roughest, dangerous part of Detroit. Yeah, there are some, there's some areas. I mean, if you're born and raised in Detroit, you know what areas that are the most comfortable, that you feel comfortable in. Then, you know, some areas that, you know, the sun go down, you make sure you have other people with you or some sort of protection. That's just unfortunately the way it is in a lot of major urban cities. And you do see, you know, there's a bias, obviously, with regards to certain parts of town that get more attention than others. You know, it goes with probably any major city outside of the downtown area. You're going to see different things being done to certain parts of town. So that's a great perspective, Mia. You see, there is money in keeping people poor. Yeah, that's what we talked about. It's all about profitability of profiting off people's misery. It's the best way to put it. And that's exactly, I mean, because when you look at education, you have to say to yourself, how is it this bad in 2026? When, you know, particularly for the, you know, the Black community, one of the greatest, highest points of education was right after the Emancipation Proclamation, because that's when a lot of HBCUs, historically Black colleges, were being founded. And in addition to that, it was a great zeal to learn due to the previous inability to learn without there being repercussions. So that's why mid 1860s through probably 1690, there was a high level of Black intelligence, because a lot of people were going on to college. Some of them never went through high school, but they started college, and that's where education started. So yeah, life is unfortunately sad in 2026 when it comes to education, homelessness, mental health, and a few other social ills here in the America. Then Pastor Blackman Hunt states many of the youth who are homeless are also part of the foster care system. I've heard some horrible stories from adults who are in the system, and the homelessness is out of control for them. Yeah, it's not just a I don't want to say 0 to 18-year-olds problem, but yeah, it's an adult problem as well. And you probably have more adults that are homeless than you do 0 to 18, but it's a problem all around for communities throughout the country. I mean, I've been in Atlanta, I've been in Birmingham, been in San Diego, been in Los Angeles, Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's no secret that, it's a problem. And what are we going to do about it? And that's where organizations like yours come in, because you have a conduit for pretty much focusing on dealing with women issues and making sure that they are safe in the community, because it's, in some areas, it's not a good thing to be around.
Right. But with anything, Eric, whether it's homelessness or foster care, I know was brought up, or adoption or supporting children, we all can do something. So even we've highlighted different organizations that build support systems around families, right? We all know families that maybe are have children, they have a child who's from foster care living with them and they're taking care of that. Like, let's build a support system for those families. Or if you're in a situation where you could take on a kid who's in foster care and maybe even in hopes that you could adopt them, like, let's do it. There are so many things in the world that if we all took a little bit of ownership over the problems in the world, and that's, I think, a big issue that I have, whether it's with politics, or we all want everybody else to do the thing, right? To save, we want somebody else to solve the problem. No, we can solve the problem. And that's a big part of like what we're going to be talking about on Sunday. That's a big part of what One Girl Revolution does. Find an issue or find a topic that really drives you. I believe that every single person has something that really gets them riled up, whether it's you see something going on social media, or here in Detroit, right? Over 50% of children are living under the poverty line. Why? Like, what can we each do? There are so many things that we can all do, and we can support the organizations that are solving that problem. And in a lot of ways, One Girl Revolution is almost a vetting for all these organizations, because the organizations that we're highlighting are the people that I believe are doing the best work to solve all these different problems in society. But we all can do something. It's just us taking a little bit of ownership and saying, I see this problem, what can I do? And being the change we want to see.
And you hit the nail on the head, Kate, because everyone has a purpose and everyone has a passion. I got involved in literacy after reading an article on March it had so much impact. I can tell you the date as well as probably the time when I read the article. So March 5th, 2017, I'm reading an article in Detroit Business Cranes magazine. And it focused on a 12th grade Detroit student that was at Detroit Central High School, 12th grade, that was reading at a first grade level. So I'm saying to myself, how in the hell is that possible? How did he get to the 12th grade and only reading at the first grade level? That's when I asked myself, what can I do to make a difference? And that's when I got involved in literacy, created the 5K Run Walk for Literacy Awareness, started having a good friend of mine, high school classmate, doing #literacy hoodies. And that's the best way to advertise it. And it's just amazing. But the sad part about it, Kate, was that article should have resulted in action. Unfortunately, it resulted in so much inaction that nothing was getting done. And still, you're bragging about a high school graduation rate that is the highest it has been in years. But are they graduating at the grade level for which they are just finishing high school? And if they're not, they're graduating 2, 3, 4, or 5 grades below grade level. You're not doing them any favors by just passing them along. So we have to find a way to fix some of these very fixable problems. And even Mr. 1213, he has a good idea. This is something that should be able to gain some momentum. Schools should have sleeping areas within the building for students whom are homeless. Sounds like a simple solution. Sounds like an easy solution. And you would think that someone would come up with an idea to be able to address this situation. But unfortunately, it's not a moneymaker, because this will result in spending money, because you got to pay for the electricity, you got to pay for the water for them to take showers, you got to pay to feed them. But yeah, that's a great idea, Mr. 1213. Appreciate that. Anything you want to add to that, Kate, regarding that comment?
No, I think that that's one way. Like you said before, Eric, like there are so many abandoned buildings. Why aren't people investing in creating those spaces and making them beautiful living spaces too for these kids or families in need? There is so much in Detroit and so many like empty lots too that like the land
Oh, a
bank
lot of
and
empty
others are
lots.
just sitting on. And it's just shocking to me. Yeah, I could go down a rabbit hole of the whole system, especially living in the city. It's like you see very clearly the corruption, and it's really sad and disheartening for
And
sure.
just take into consideration that Detroit once had almost 2 million people, now only have about 650,000. So the space is there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the bandwidth is there for,
Mm-hmm.
buildings to be built, homeless shelter to be built. A good friend of mine I had on the show a few weeks ago, he's out in California in LA County. They have the church that he attends, they have bought closed down hotels and turned them into homeless shelters.
Wow.
So that's the type of benevolence that needs to
Mm-hmm.
take place all over the country because it is a
Mm-hmm.
national disgrace,
Mm-hmm.
without a doubt. And
Yeah,
then
all the vacant hotels, like that would just be so easy. There are
I mean, look
so
at the
many
Embassy
around.
Suite right off Northwestern Highway in
Yeah.
Southfield.
Yeah.
That's vacant. Been vacant for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
Interesting comment from Miss Sheila. I believe women should have a lock on the bedroom while renting. That's interesting. And then you have Les Moore. California spends tens of billions of dollars on homeless, but homeless has increased. It has increased. And you go into the LA County, LA City proper area, it is a national disgrace. I was there 3 years ago, when I had my 5K event out there. And Kate, I'm not sure if you've ever been to LA, but if you go to Skid Row or even go to the homeless community, it is sad beyond belief. And I don't want to get political, but the U.S. representative in Congress that's representing that area, as well as both of the senators from California, are doing their citizens a major disservice. And we know who the senators are. We know who the representatives are for LA area. They are doing a terrible job of representing their constituents.
That's why, Eric, I love Spencer Pratt. I don't know if you've followed.
I'm not familiar with him.
Office, and he is just seemingly a man of the people. He was on the Hills and like shows years ago on MTV. And he's running for office because he wants to sound the alarm on all that stuff that's going on. And so we need more people like that who see the problems and are willing to be a spokesperson.
Be a change maker, right?
Yeah, and sacrifice. I can't even imagine running for political office, how much of a sacrifice that is on your family and your own life. But it's really, really aspirational when you see people like that.
So Queen Bee is channeling your mother, so to speak. Elementary schools used to teach children the dangers of strangers or how, and now they don't teach them much of anything. Today's educational system is beyond scary. Literacy programs are now nothing more than holding children and adults easy reader books. And one of my greatest stories that I like to share is a couple years I did a 5K event on the campus of Wayne State University. And we are so quick to take out phones if we see somebody fighting, we see an accident, we see a fire. And there was a young lady, a fifth grader, 10 years old, that was at the table. Her mom was working on her master's. She was in class. Her mom stopped by the booth before she went into class, said her daughter was in the library. I'm going to have her come over here. So as we are, myself and a fraternity brother of mine by the name of Anthony Johnson, we're just talking, engaging in the conversation. All of a sudden, we hear somebody sniffling and crying. And I'm saying to myself, are you okay? People need to understand, you want to get someone to read, put a book in front of them with someone on the cover that looks like them. That's the reason why she was crying, Kate. She said that I had never seen so many books. The books that I have in my events are all given out free. Yep. Someone thank Lisa and Ernesto out in Ann Arbor for the organization that has provided me with my books over the years. I've given out over 1,000 books. And
Wow.
she was saying she has never seen so many books with people that look like her on them. So I told them the books are free because she started taking out. I mean, she's 10 years old, Kate, taking out money, talking about here's a donation.
Yeah.
I said, no, keep your money. These books are free.
Mm-hmm.
And she ended up taking about maybe 10 books that all had Black boys and Black girls that looked like her on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
And I could tell she was well spoken. So I could tell she was already a reader anyway. Her mom is working on masters in education. So I'm sure education was very important in her household. But that was just one of those moments that you cannot beat. And one of my biggest regrets is not filming that authentic situation. Because I can't go out and, reduplicate. I can't have a 5K event tomorrow and tell someone to read and pick up some books and do some fake crime. It just wouldn't be authentic.
Yeah.
But that was a moment. That was a missed the opportunity moment that we should have been concentrating on those that were at the booth as opposed to engaging in conversation between ourselves, because that young lady was just phenomenal, and just the wherewithal to say, I would like to make a contribution, for these books that you have given me. And it wasn't about that. The books were free.
And who knows how that impacted her life, right, Eric? Like that moment, those little moments. And that's also a really important thing for all of us to reflect on. What are the little moments that we miss out on because we're trying to sell our books or we're trying to do this? And like, look for those moments, because we have opportunities to inspire the next generation. We have opportunities to help people all around us. And like that girl, it's so important for all of us to see ourselves represented, right? We're all as unique as our fingerprint. We all have our quirks or our struggles or our differences, and all need to be celebrated. And so if we can create spaces for books to be shared, or storytelling, or, like you were talking about, documentaries or One Girl Revolution stories, it's how can we create commonality to say, I see other people that look like me, or this person's story reminds me of my story, and that they had strength and now I can be strong too. It's so important.
And that's what makes Michigan Urban Youth Alliance so important, because we have a bunch of great kids, young adults. I want to call them kids, young adults, because they are 12th, 11th, 10th, 9th. We do have some 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, but the bulk of them are the high schoolers, and they're young adults. And they're just, great kids, come from some decent family, but they come from families of parents that care about them. And that's one of the most important aspects of it all. You have to have a village that cares about you. It's not just the village of your mom and dad, but the community that you live in. That's one of the great things that we have. And then you have a lot of the students have known each other for a while. They've been together since elementary, middle school, different high schools. They still are very close to one another. So that's very important as well. And I'm going to get through some of these comments because we only have a couple more minutes. Who watch these homeless organizations? Obviously no one, because these homeless organizations are making a lot of money. We need to ensure, and this is from me and Nadia again, we need to ensure we're voting for seats at the state level this November that triumph homelessness, tackling drug use. And that's a great point, Mia, because 4 years ago in 2022, can't speak for the whole state, but in Detroit, only 34% of the people came out to vote. Only 22% of people came out to vote last November for mayor. Then in 2024, less than half of the eligible voters came out to vote at 47%. So people can complain all they want, but they must look themselves in the mirror and not just go about voting, but also galvanize other people to vote as well, because that's part of the problem. And people need to understand politics are local. That's the most important thing people need to understand. Politics are local. You can whine about the president, but he has less power over you than your local elected officials and your state elected officials that represent you at the local level. Then we have from Queen B, she's commenting to Miss Sheila, nobody, and she's referring to homelessness and who oversees them, the founder city. Yeah, so that's a conversation between them two. Friendly banter, you see that on this show. Karen Winston, thanks for joining us. Indeed, we do. Then Queen B has another conversation. the old Hyatt in Dearborn will make a great homeless shelter. But I think they're turning that into something else, Queen Bee, if I'm not mistaken. I think I recently read that old Hyatt is being turned into a living apartment building for regular folks. So I think that's what that's going to be. And this is perfect timing because this is the last comment before we sign off, and I give you some final words. Hadi Montag Spencer Pratt. Is that who she,
yeah, that's who she's married to. Yeah, they were both on the Hills and whatever shows on MTV. So it's interesting. People should check it out. I'm very curious to see how it all plays out for sure.
All right, appreciate that information, Queen Bee. So with regards to your closing comments, Kate, what would you like to say? Tell more people about the event on Sunday and what they can look forward to if they come out. And then again, give the location and address of the event as well.
Yeah. So Eric, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. It's been so great. Thank you to everybody who joined us tonight. It's so important to have formats like this and opportunities like this for all of us to discuss the things of the world, things that are happening. But like I said, One Girl Revolutions, The Power of Her. It's our Women's History Month celebration is on Sunday, March 1st. So this coming Sunday from 6 to 9 p.m. It's going to be at the Detroit Design District. People can get tickets. I'm encouraging people to get tickets this week before this weekend because it's only $25. So if you plan to come, grab your ticket now because obviously we need to just get tabs for food and drinks and make sure that we have everything for everybody. But $25 includes everything. So it'll be a great night. And then it's going to be a multimedia experience. So Michigan Urban Youth Alliance is going to be there and we're going to be partnering with them. We have all of these amazing social enterprises that are going to have a marketplace there. And then we're going to have art exhibits where people can walk through and read the real stories of world-changing women and girls in our own community, but also across the country. We'll be featuring different organizations and different women who are making an impact. And it's just going to be a great night. So I encourage people to come out and celebrate with us. And like I said before, it's not just for women and girls. We all should embrace this opportunity to support women and girls from all different backgrounds. So, the address, it is, I think it's 2650. It's the Boyer Campbell building. 6540 St. Antoine. That's what it is. 6540 St. Antoine in Detroit.
And I'm going to thank you, Kay. I mean, you came and spoke to our youth a couple of weeks ago. They were definitely impressed with you. You were impressed with them. And alliances were formed. Even, a lot of them you spoke to at the event back in November. So there was already an alliance built with regards to momentum to have them be a part of this event coming up on March 1st to kick off to not just National Reading Month, but also Women's History Month. So it should be an amazing event. It'd be a long day for me. And you want to give the address again? Because I don't think someone heard you, Kate.
Yeah, it's 6540 St. Antoine in Detroit.
All right, thanks again. I want to thank everyone for listening this evening. Next week and the next 5 weeks, the Reality Strikes podcast will be dedicated to literacy, the educational crisis. I will have on Pam Good from Beyond Basics, Kareem Weaver, who is very prominent in the documentary, The Right to Read. And if you have not seen that documentary yet, please, please, please take a moment of your time to watch it. And we will have local editorial director from WXYZ, the ABC affiliate in Detroit, Chuck Stokes, on as a guest as well. So again, thank you all for listening this evening. Peace and love. And until next week, enjoy the rest of your Monday and enjoy the rest of your week. And enjoy the last few days of February. Thanks again, Kate.
Thanks, Eric.
Bye, all right. Everybody. See you Sunday.
See you Sunday.
All right. And that would be a wrap for the night. And you all next week. And like I said, until then, and she also, I'll relay that message to Kate, and she also will be able to see the replay of this, Miss Sheila. Thanks for all that she does. So I will again thank everyone for joining me this evening. See you next week. And enjoy the rest of your week. Peace.